Hi everybody out there in Patreon land. This video we're going to do something fun. I have a few jobs that call for working with wood, but it's been a while since I've actually done anything with wood, so I'm going to do something, a refresher if you will, to make sure I'm sharp with all my tools. Also, I've never used a router like this on something before. I've always had it mounted to a table and used it like this. But sometime last year I was making some frames and trying to push too much through, and it drew too much voltage and melted one of the contacts on the board. So I was like, oh shit, I need to get this job done. So I had to go out and I had to buy another router. And then I opened this one up and I soldered the connection and fixed it. The board didn't blow, it just melted out of the contact. So I resoldered it, so now I have two routers. So today we're going to be making a skull. It's one of my favorite designs, and it seems to be popular all the time, you know, since we all got one in our brain boxes. So first we're going to put an outline of the skull on here. I'm just going to do it. Come along, it'll be fun. Maybe. I hope it will. I hope it will. How could it not, with all of my charisma? How could I not just pull you in? I just want to watch the whole thing. This guy is going to be fun to watch. The excitement in this fucking guy. I know I've shown my rig before in videos, but I'll show you again. This is one that I built for my projector. So instead of having to lie it down flat and then move something that way, I can just go up and down like a photo enlarger and trace it on a flat surface. I've made this little guy here. It's like a little glass piece. That's where I put what I want to stencil. These little guys, they usually do about a 3x3 piece, which is reasonable for detail. So there you go. There's my little skull design. I put them in this little magazine here. I plug it in here. You move the projector up and down, and then it has a fine focus lever on it. When I want to do something that's bigger than that, I can flip around I can take it off the runners and just turn it around so it projects all the way down to the floor. And that gives me another extra 2 feet. Seeing that this part isn't really in focus, we'll come back when the lights are back on. Well, this is my skull design, which I will now bring over to the, you know what? Alright, so, I'm sure you know the difference between working hard and working smart. Well, I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm doing here. I've never done this with the router before. So, it would probably make sense to try that part first before I cut anything else. I don't even know what the correct router bit to use is in this. I don't know what's gonna tear my piece to fucking pieces. This is the skinniest one I have, so let's try this one. Push that in there. Tighten you up. Nice, tight like a tiger. Any new types of spinny tools that chop big chunks out of things, they scare me. As they should. I'll show you guys my bit box. Here you go. I had just toolboxes full of crap, unorganized crap. So whenever I wanted to do something, I had to hunt for stuff. Now I don't. And Tom Smith, if you're watching, you are partially to thank for this. Thank you, sir. Well, let's try routing. You know, I'm gonna try first. I'm gonna take out my crusty trusty little compass here. And draw a circle. And if I can satisfactorily cut that circle out, I feel that I may have the ability to do the eyes and the nose and stuff. This is going to be loud. Check out that hole, huh? You know, it went way better than I could have hoped. So I'm confident I'll be able to do the rest of the skull. But it's fun to show this step. So this part should be fun. This is a new blade. I've been excited to use it. And I know it's probably kind of a dick move to, use a sander at 9 in a residential area, but I don't think my, they're bikers and they can't hear it very well. So let's sand this off, at least roughly. I'll be doing the end sanding with a Dremel by hand, but anything that I can do with the machine will help it move faster. Alright, here's the fun part. Moving over to my Dremel. If you don't got one of these things, they're really cool. And the part I just replaced broke again, apparently. Yeah, taken apart. Reassembled the Dremel a couple times. Maybe I did it the wrong way. I can't get the bit out, my Dremel. I will not be discouraged though, because I have bought this Drill Master, which might get the job done for today. I got this at Harbor Freight for under $10, and it came with a bunch of accessories, and it's garbage. It's a piece of garbage. But see, I don't know what the deal is with it, because if you have a Dremel, here's my, I made a 2x4 and drilled a whole bunch of holes, and there are all my Dremel bits, so they're easy to find when you need them. these little guys, these little golden things that you put in the tip of your Dremel so you can use thicker and thinner bits. They differ in between the cheapo Drill Master and the regular Dremel, so probably for some proprietary Dremel reason. So sometimes it's difficult to use actual Dremel parts with your Drill Master. Let's see how we do here. Listen to that hum, huh? Well, maybe this will help me cut out the teeth. You listening to that power? It's absolutely breathtaking. Will you fit? No, you won't. Nope, you're too small. Oh, you're just right. Just like porridge. Just like Little Red Riding Hood's porridge. You're just right. Or are you? Yeah. Alright, let's try this guy. There was an episode of one of Anthony Bourdain's shows, I think, either him or Andrew Zimmern, and one of them was over, I think it was India, and they were walking through the streets, and there was an Indian dentist who did dentistry with one of these things. Yeah, I don't want that. And there's where the power difference between a Dremel and a Drill Master come in. This is the shit that most people would edit out of their videos, right? I'll tell you what I'm doing right now. I'm disassembling this this Dremel to see if there's any way that I can circumvent the screw at the top. So I first got this, I must have got this Dremel at least 10 years ago, and the prices have, yeah, the prices have become something amazing since then. At least $40 more. What do we have here? Aha! Here is our issue. Do you see that? That is the little nub that you press in that keeps the knob from spinning. And it is stripped away. Being the brainiac that I am, I think I saved all of the old pieces. Fuck you, dude. Check it out. It's pretty fucking rad, isn't it? Right. It's incredible. Now I just got to figure out how to put it in there. Alright, so it would appear that inside this bit here, this is supposed to... Okay. Oh, it's up there. Alright. This part is supposed to snap into place somewhere, and when you push the button down, it goes... Can you see that? Yeah. When you push the button down, it bends, and then it flexes back. So because if that thing was floating around in there, it would stop. It would be able to go into that hole whenever it felt like it, and that would bring your, either strip the screw, most likely, or bring your Dremel to a halt and burn out your motor. Get out of here. Get! But it appears that the small part that's supposed to hang out in there is not working, so I'm going to use just a dab of this very smelly adhesive. Let's try this again, shall we? There you go. Success! Before I change angles here, I'll show you. If you're having trouble with your Dremel, this part goes, this part I had to replace, this part I had to replace when I also replaced these guys. They're, I think they're called like brushes or something, but they're not actually a brush. They can wear down, and a carbon brush maybe, and they have something to do with keeping the motor in check, I would guess. But they are either this part, or this part is the part that goes if your Dremel doesn't work. And they can be replaced much easier and cheaper than buying a whole new Dremel. The place I got the Dremel parts from was a place called eReplacementParts.com. And it's a fantastic site. It cost me maybe $25, and I fixed my own Dremel, and it'll give you a feeling of accomplishment, and it's not nearly as difficult as you may think it is if you've never opened up a piece of machinery and looked and tried to figure out what each component does. I also fixed our dryer for $3 because the issue was a thermal fuse. All around your dryer are these little things. They're like little they're little fuses, little resistors that when they get too hot, the connection breaks, so you don't burn down your house. And it was very simple. You just get a multimeter and you check each one to see if there's a connection, and if there isn't, your fuse is bad. Well, back on carving our skull. Let's do some skullifying. Take out the trusty dusty sandpaper here. I'm going to start with a nice big grit, a P80, to get rid of the big bits. Oh, I should, yeah, I'll go back with the router, make it a little bit deeper so that doesn't show. Yeah, that fixed that problem. I just took another pass with the router and went a little bit deeper in the eye holes. It might not even matter. I don't know how I'm going to embellish this. This could just be black paint in there. But I want it to look nice and smooth. Mission accomplished. And getting these all these good places. Yeah. Oh, no kidding. Cool. All right. Here's our buddy. Now, I don't think staining it would do it any favors. So I'm gonna start off with this black. Some stains, they'll show every single little sanding line and everything. You can't really see that well. Well, hopefully it'll become more visible as the layers progress there. I'm going to paint this guy like I do just like a regular 2D one. I'm going to hit it with the heat gun here. Oh, it's heating up the wood, so the sap is coming through. You can see the grains. Yeah, I know this is very difficult to see. It just looks like a big black thing. I was a young man. and I had an earring. I remember it was like a snake or something, and it was a pewter. It's probably made out of steel, and it had this brushed color look. And what they did was, you know, they paint it black and then they wipe away all the other spots, and the black stays in the recesses like an enamel pin, sort of. I always liked that look. So every time I try to accomplish that, I think about that earring I had when I was a kid. Here we are, everybody. Another day. Another day to love art. All right. Let's see how. Oh, there you go. All right. This is the first one of these videos in a long time that I've done with just one camera. When I do painting with Jim stuff, I usually I do a 2-camera. I ping back and forth so you can you know, to break it up, and it also helps with editing. But 1-camera stuff is much, much easier to edit. And hopefully, if it looks good, I can document a lot more projects and get them done a lot quicker. And that's good for everybody. The story of this skull is a fun one. I don't know if it's actually fun per se, but it's something to talk about. Yesterday I baled hay, and it was a very hot day. Those are the best days for baling hay. You know, your hay is nice and dry. It's not going to rot. It's not going to rot in your barn or your shed or wherever you're going to store it for the winter. And I went to the local Circle K, and I was going to get myself a nice cold soda pop, but I ended up getting myself a Froster, which is Circle K's answer to the Slurpee. On the cup, it said something about something frozen fun, and they threw the word fun in there, and I was thinking, you know, this carbonated drink, this carbonated frozen bellyache in a cup isn't exactly what I'd describe as fun, so I apologize. I just used the word fun for fun story. It's not a fun story. It's just a story. Just because you put the word fun in front of something doesn't mean it's fun. So it's just a story. So here's the story about these skulls. Okay. So artwork, right? Artwork. People make art. People have the dream. Is this going to be the idea? Is this going to be the huge idea? To end all ideas, is this going to be my style? Is this going to be what people will like? Do I have to stop trying? Is it okay if I stop trying new things and keep with this style? Can I support myself with this style? This skull was a fluke. lot of things around style probably are. Like, you may know Salvador Dali for his melty clocks, but that was just one of his pieces. Anyway, so one day I was spitballing, trying things, and I came across this skull, and so I found a cool skull. I traced it, and I made it a cool color or something, and lo and behold, somebody liked the skull. Which is what you aim for. You hope somebody likes your idea. But, and I think of, what's that clothing brand that uses that monkey? Is it Paul Frank or something like that? I think of that guy. I think of the Paul Frank monkey, that it's just the simplest possible design of a monkey head, but you just put the monkey head on different things. Now, I couldn't put this skull on different things because that would take a manufacturing process. For every idea that you have, I'd like to put this on a keychain, I'd like to put this on a beer koozie, I'd like to put this on a pin, etc. Every one of those is a crapshoot, and every one of those crapshoot costs hundreds of dollars. You never know. Is that going to work? Is this going to bankrupt me? This is an entire month's worth of rent. Is this worth the idea? And that is probably the driving force as to why I don't sell keychains and buttons and all that stuff. Although I've probably come closer to selling buttons than any other idea, because all you need is a button maker and the button making supplies, and then you can basically print out anything in small runs, because it takes Xerox paper in it. You just smush it in there and you try to sell it, and if people don't like that, you make another Xerox and you sell that. But I digress. I did have an original point here somewhere, and that point was, well, I can't go just selling this boring design. I need to switch it up, which caused me to start putting designs inside of the skulls. And in doing so, I had to think of a bunch of different designs. Which one of these designs works best? And the one that, out of all the ones that I've tried, seemed to be this line style. This line style. I was fooling around with pictures of vintage ladies with, and I started filling them in with this line style, which was inspired by old Linocuts and the way that money is made. If you look close up on money, you'll see the subjects of the money are drawn in this line style, and then it was just a straight or a slightly wavy line style. And then I thought, how do I make a better or different line style than this? Something engaging, something people will like. So then I took inspiration from topographical maps, 2D topographical maps. So if you ever look on a map of a mountain range, if I remember, I shall put one here. As you can see, the different layers signify the different altitudes of mountains. So I thought, okay, how can I do that the way that the lines do not intersect. There's only certain ways that the lines go. That's what I attempt to do. Now the color of the hour is going to be our friend Copenhagen blue. Copenhagen, of course, where that chewing that snuff comes from. That snuff tobacco. All right. Okay. Now these designs, they're going to have 2 or 3 parts to add a bit of dynamicism to them. Once this part dries, I will go over different parts of it with white, with a lighter blue, and then with the lightest blue being the highlights at the end. Usually this is a part that I would fast forward through, but I will not fast forward through this, because you, my Patreon friend, you have paid for entertainment. And I am going to do my best to give you hours upon hours of entertainment. Whether or not you find me babbling for hours and hours entertaining, that remains to be seen. As pledges decline or disappear completely. Understandable. I would just like you to know that I appreciate this moment right now. Thank you. Thank you very much for this August. There's a part in my brain that's saying, don't just do one blue, do a couple of different blues. So it looks wilder, man. And I'm thinking to myself, maybe that's a good idea. If you've ever heard Charles Bukowski doing spoken word, I feel like I just channeled his cadence right there. Patina, a nice patina. Was that patina too light? I don't know. We shall see, though. I was just treated to the most delightful scent of a cat box. I wish you could be there to share this with me. I was just made aware of this device that people use to paint when they're painting upright. It's like a tennis ball in a bar that they lean on things, so they can lean on the bar so they don't have to touch their painting. I think I tried something like that years ago. It's very genius. Knowing how to paint without having to rest your hand on the artwork you're doing. It's another layer of talent. It's very impressive. But they probably teach you that in art school. I gotta get in there. Tighten up your lines, man. Tighten up your lines. Earlier in this video I showed a shot of all the fly traps I have hanging over my head. Now I have 3, which might seem slightly excessive, but like there's so many flies, the flies would land in my paint and stuff, and I'd just get discouraged. But these fly traps are doing a fantastic job, and whenever one of them gets caught, they buzz around for a little while before they perish. And I find a slight joy in that. I know that that type of attitude wouldn't swing in a Buddhist temple. A fly's whole sense of purpose is to, like, eat me, right? They land on me and then they puke on me and try to eat me? Is that what they do? So I know that some of them look for nice dead things to lay their eggs in to continue their little fly bloodlines. Speaking of fly bloodlines, yesterday when I was out baling hay, actually I wasn't baling hay, I was helping to bale hay. I was collecting the hay and putting it away. If you can see that, all my wounds. I got a little bit of hay arm. Got hay blisters. Failed to wear gloves like a smart person. But one of the places I needed to put the the hay away was a small shed, and this is where a donkey and a mule were hanging out. The donkey's name's Rudy, and the mule's name is Tess. And it's funny, that's Rudy's a boy and Tess is a girl, and Tess is a significant size bigger than Rudy, but that doesn't stop Rudy from being Rudy, if you know what I mean, and that's funny to try to watch. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is flies and blood. Horse flies. Before I was around horses, I wasn't around many horse flies, but it's fun how horse flies find horses to enjoy. Well, unfortunately, this poor mule is spending her days being a meal for many, many horseflies. And, you know, mules aren't the most flexible. And there comes a time when you just admit defeat when you've been outsmarted by a bug and just let them eat you. But I was there, and I was not going to let that happen. So I'd unload a bale of hay, and then I'd go over to Tess, and I would murder a couple of the horseflies that were on her. And after a couple of horseflies, I looked down on my hand, and my hand was covered in Tess's blood. This was from the horseflies that were sucking her blood. No. There's a thing about animals that you know, like let's take for instance a moose. Now, from my neck of the woods here in Ohio, I've never seen a moose. But when I was out and about traveling in the wilds, of probably the most commonly driven highway in Canada, just off the beaten path, there was a dead moose. And I'd never seen a moose before, so I stopped and I wanted to look at the dead moose. But I, just out of happenstance, I noticed the dead moose out of the corner of my eye, down a road going to the side. So I had to pull over and backtrack a little to check out this moose. Now, the moose was further down the road than I thought, because moose are really big. So the closer I got to this dead moose, the bigger I realized it was. It was incredible. They're incredible creatures, and I can understand why there are moose warnings, you know, watch out, these things will fucking kill you. And yes, they will, because they're very, very big. I think they seem to be bigger than a mule. The reason I say this is because when you look at animals in photographs, even sometimes when you have a picture of a human in there for scale, you don't fully register the majesty of these creatures until you're standing right in front of them. Now, a mule, no, mules are even smaller than some horses. Some horses are titanic.
a mule is, it's rather tall. I think I'm like 5'11", and she towers over me. And if this mule was to become upset with me, it would not take much for her to give me a grievous bodily injury. As unfortunately I've seen before. I've seen a mule kick a human, and it's bad news bears. Luckily the human is okay, but when they get upset, they're pretty hardcore. I prefaced that 5-minute aside for what I'm going to say next. I stood underneath Tess and her neck, and if you've ever tried to kill a fly, you know you have to be quicker than the fly in order to get the fly. Otherwise, the fly flies away and you have to wait for the next time. As the fly giggles and you sit there frustrated. Now, I have to be quick. I need to swat at Tess's horseflies to kill them before they fly away, but I also need Tess to not move a few inches towards me and bite my face off, because that would be very easy for Tess to do. So here I am, standing underneath this giant, beautiful beast, and to the untrained eye, it would just seem that I was taking pot shots at this big beast. Whereas I was swatting the flies on her. So after one particular fly, that met its end with its teeth still inside Tess, enjoying her blood. I pulled it off by its wing to show Tess, hey, this is what I'm doing. And she tried to eat it. Although I would assume that the mule is smart enough to know that two-legged weakling, or whatever they call us humans, was there for the benefit of her to keep horseflies off her. So that was a real symbiotic relationship we had there. I killed flies, and she didn't kick me in the head. So that's nice. It really benefited both of us. So that's what happened yesterday. Isn't that fascinating? At any point, you can turn this audio off and listen to your favorite songs. Which I wonder if... I'm sure somebody does that. I used to do the swirly whirls on the teeth. And maybe again I will do that in the future, but for now I'm just painting the teeth solid colors. Okie dokie, artichoke.
we are at the end of our journey. Here's our buddy. This is what we made today. Pretty cool. Let's see. Thank you to all of my Patreon friends for making this video possible. You, and you, and you, and all of you, really. I'll try to make the next one a little peppier. Sometimes I'm peppy, sometimes I'm not. But I always love art, and I'm always grateful to all of you and everyone, and just to be alive, really. It's pretty sweet. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.